morning, students and viewers. My name is Praveen. Another topic that we are going to discuss is NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, one of the oldest and strongest military political alliance. NATO. This is led by USA and it has 32 member countries. Now USA, it is presided by Trump. What he wants to do? He wants to make America again, great again. And he's a businessman. He wants alliance, at the same time he wants to reduce his dependence and he wants to reduce his costs, defense costs as well. So why he is so much critical about these other alliance parties? Recently, Canada, one of the NATO alliance party, he was critical about Canada as well, and he imposed heavy tariffs on them. He did not spare his own ally, his own partner. So why? Here, why USA is going against its own partners? That is the topic that we are going to discuss as a part of NATO. So NATO is a military political organization alliance by 32 countries. Like we have USA, this is the Atlantic Ocean, we have USA and Europe countries here. So this transatlantic partnership, some of the USA, Canada from North America and some 30 countries from European continent. Why they made this actually? Why they formed an alliance? They formed this alliance on 4th April 1949 in Washington, based on Washington Treaty. What are these objectives? Let us first discuss about these objectives, why they formed. Then we will understand what are the current problems they are facing. The objectives of NATO. They have an article called Article 5, which states that collective defense. Collective defense. That means if you attack one country, it is an attack on all the alliance countries. That is how they are going to respond. I will tell you an example. In 2001, there is an attack on Twin Towers of USA, and entire 32 countries started reacting towards that. That is the significance of NATO. And what is second objective here? Security alliance. Third is nuclear deterrence. Fourth is cyber terrorism. And fifth is handling emerging threats. One of the unsaid principle about NATO is they want to deter the aggressive posture of this Russia, this aggressive expansion that Russia wants to make, like when it was Soviet Union. They want to deter it through this NATO alliance. It was a Cold War era. It was very much predominant in Cold War era, in global politics. So it is all good, right? Collective defense. They have strength. They're in a group. They're fighting in a group. So how do they fight in a group? What they did is they have defense budgets. They have civil budgets. There are three types of budgets. Every country will be providing their own resources for this budget. But the problem here is NATO, which is led by USA, is the biggest spender in budget. 16% of NATO budget is borne by USA. The next is Germany, 16%. Rest all countries are less than 1. And if you see, USA spends 3.4% of its GDP on defense. Its defense budget is 3.4%. Whereas remaining European countries, their defense budget is less than 1%. In 2001, they made a commitment that every member alliance country will contribute at least 2% of their GDP for defense purposes. This was the commitment they made. But by 2024, only 18 out of 32 countries following this commitment. So USA is sharing the most of the burden for this budget. Not only in terms of budget, but also it deploys the number of personnel it deploys across Europe, this Europe country, whereas Eastern Europe, which is facing Russian aggression, the personnel employed at this border are majorly from USA. So capabilities wise, personal deployment wise, finance budget wise, USA is having is USA is actually bearing most of the cost. So USA wants its allies to increase their expenditure for defense, but it is not happening so. That is why USA is more critical about NATO allies. So he wants simply the allies to increase their defense budget, so that USA wants these allies to increase their defense budget so that they can defend as a whole body from the emerging threats, Russia or China. So are they all not following the commitment? So we are saying 18 out of 32 countries are following the norm, but rest of them are not following. But Russia now attacked Ukraine. Now all these eastern countries, they are improving their defense budget. They are getting ready for the future defense needs. Once USA pulls out of this NATO, Europe will be seriously in a precarious position. It is prone to attack. It will not have any proper defense against any threats that is coming from Russia or any other aggressive party. So NATO, USA is very much crucial for NATO also to deter these threats coming from Russia or any other country. So that is the reason US wants its allies to increase their budget. This is one part of this, why NATO is in news and why we need to discuss about NATO. So another aspect of NATO is they formed NATO Plus as well. Remember I said one of the objective is to handle emerging threats. Like now the emerging threat for this free world, free and rule-based democratic world is China. They want to contain it as well. So they formed this NATO Plus alliances. Like they are like South Korea, Japan, now Quad also, like India, including India or Australia. So these NATO countries consult with these countries in formulating some policies to deter emerging threats such as China. So this is another role NATO plays in global politics and geoeconomics. So what will, in this topic, if you see, NATO is very much in the news because of Trump-led USA agenda. So what UPSC is going to concentrate on for prelims or mains? For prelims, it will ask what are the NATO member alliance countries. There are 32 countries. You may not remember all of them, but you have to remember the latest joinees. Ukraine is trying to join NATO so that it will have a defense partner to defend against Russia interest, but they have not allowed. Why? That we'll discuss shortly. So what will UPSC ask? The member countries. What are the latest joinees? 2024 Sweden, before that Finland. And another question UPSC may ask is, what are the European Union countries that are not part of NATO? There are 4 countries that are part of European Union but not part of NATO. They are in EU but not in NATO. What are those? One is Malta, second is Ireland, third is Cyprus, fourth is Austria. These 4 countries part of European Union but not part of NATO. They want to maintain neutrality, which is one of the demands by Russia against Ukraine. Russia wants Ukraine to stay neutral, but Ukraine wants defense. Because in 2014 already Russia annexed Crimea, which was part of Ukraine earlier. So Ukraine want to be part of NATO. Can any country join NATO? What is the process of being part of this alliance? For any country to be part of NATO, these member countries should be having consensus. So they should all agree for any member to be part of this alliance. So there are some countries which have reservations about membership for Ukraine. So only countries which have gained the consensus from these member countries, they can be part of this NATO. So this is about NATO membership. So let us revise once again about the NATO. So NATO is a military and political alliance. 32 countries part of it, and USA is being critical about their allied partners because of their budget expenditure for defense, their current relevance. USA wants to make NATO more relevant by forming more association with latest countries which have same security interests. like formation of Quad against China to handle emerging threats. So the question it can ask is about these 4 countries which are part of EU but not of NATO, or a latest joinees for these countries. And it may ask about what is the Article 5 of NATO also. And it may ask also about Washington Treaty, which is the basis for formation of NATO. This is about the topic. Thank you.